For antiwar.com, I'm Scott Horton. This is Anti-War Radio. I'm happy to welcome the other Scott Horton, heroic international human rights lawyer. He's a contributing editor to Harpers magazine, where he writes the blog No Comment at their website, harpers.org. He lectures at Columbia University. He's the former chairman of the New York Bar Association's Committee on International Law and the former president of the International League for Human Rights. And Scott, I think I heard somewhere or read somewhere that you're now teaching at a different college.
Yeah, I'm a visiting professor at Hofstra Law School this year.
Oh, there you go, Hofstra. That's right. That's what I heard. Okay, so there's that for the bio. Now, we've been talking for years and years now, and I'm very glad to have you on the show here today. We've been talking about the Bush administration's flight from the law under the excuse that they're protecting us from terrorism, and the various war crimes that they committed under their pretended theories of law as drawn up by some of their yes-man lawyers like John Yoo and Jay Bybee and others. And now here we are in the second day of the Obama presidency, and there are a lot of expectations and I think battles of ideas going on about what exactly should be done about the fact that we all know that these men basically have openly confessed, George Bush, Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, etc., have confessed to committing these war crimes. And now I guess the question is whether the Obama administration is going to apply the law or not. Is that basically the situation as you read it? And what do you think he's going to do?
Yeah, I think it's one of the trickier issues that faces Barack Obama right now, and also Eric Holder, his Attorney General. And in fact, this afternoon, the Holder nomination ran right into a roadblock that was thrown up by Big Bad John Cornyn, the head of the Republican Senate campaign effort, also a member of the Judiciary Committee, in which Big Bad John says he's standing on a matter of principle, Republican principle, and that is for torture. He says he's trying to block and hold up the Holder nomination because he doesn't like Holder's statement that torture is a crime, and he's very concerned that Holder will begin criminal investigations. And Mr. Cornyn issued a statement this afternoon saying he wanted to get clarification about these Holder statements about an investigation because very clear he does not want any investigation to occur.
Scott, let me make sure I understand you right here. You're saying John Cornyn, my former senator, oh boy, that's nice to say, they're from Texas. He's not attacking Holder based on, intervention in the Kenny trying to do hearings or anything really scandalous as kind of a side issue, as a way to attack Holder. He's actually attacking Holder because Holder has testified that waterboarding is torture and that torture is a felony, and he's worried that he might actually prosecute felonies. That is John Cornyn's avowed position, his stated position?
And that's the statement he issued just 2 hours ago, in fact.
Incredible.
And it's interesting because Cornyn, I've been told repeatedly by people on the Judiciary Committee that Cornyn and other Senate Republicans are taking advice directly from Karl Rove as to how to handle this nomination. And, of course, John Cornyn is a client of Karl Rove's. They're very close, going way back, and Rove has been involved in his campaigns, both of his campaigns, I believe. And Rove seems quite focused on this torture issue. Rove, of course, it's interesting that the Senate Republicans would pick a man who is actually the target of 2 pending Department of Justice criminal investigations to advise them on how to deal with nominations for senior people in the Department of Justice. But, that's the world of Washington. It's a little wacky.
Well, one thing we do know, though, is that the Republicans are the minority in the Imperial Senate and on the Judiciary Committee. So does John Cornyn really have the ability to hold up Eric Holder's nomination on this point?
Clearly not. In fact, following the 2008 election, the Democratic majority is so large that the Democrats have a three vote majority on every committee, including the Judiciary Committee. So he can't block it in committee, and the Democrats clearly have the votes on the floor to elect him. So I think they have no shot at that. I think this is just an effort to embarrass, to slow down, perhaps to block or to slow down Obama's ability to get the new Department of Justice up and running.
Well, now I guess there's there's kind of a divergence in information in my mind. It seems like Cass Sunstein and some of the other people who are legal advisors to Obama, and I forget whether he made this statement himself. I think he did, about we don't want to look backwards and this kind of thing. And yet at the same time, we have his nominee for Attorney General saying that waterboarding is torture and that torture is a felony. And he's trying to get the job as top cop. So am I to expect that, or do you expect that Obama is actually, he and Holder have discussed that they do intend to move forward with criminal investigations into the former administration?
I think Barack Obama is a veritable sphinx of a politician. He makes these statements, and you go back and you parse them, and there's something for everybody in these statements he makes. So whatever your viewpoint is, you can look at it and find an aspect of a statement that lines up with what you think. What are his intentions here? I'd say it's very, very clear that he does not want the controversy over torture or criminal investigations to be a front-burner issue in Washington that gets in the way of his affirmative agenda, which is going to be, things like new policy for Afghanistan, health insurance, and dealing with the collapse of financial institutions. On the other hand, I think it's pretty clear now, based on a whole slew of appointments he's made, that he's given a lot of thought to many of these legal policy issues. Remember, he's a law professor. He taught a lot of this stuff. He's really well versed in it. And he has deep views about this, but he's not going to push those views into the front of the stage. They're going to be in the back. And I'll give you a hint. Of course, I used to blog for a blog site called Balkinization, and I think we can call this now the Balkinization Justice Department, because people who've been put in the key policy formative positions in the Justice Department are all my old colleagues from Balkinization.
Really?
Dawn Johnson from the University of Indiana, David Barron from Harvard, Marty Lederman from Georgetown, Neil Katyal from Georgetown as well, all people who wrote at our blog site, major contributors there, in fact, and all people who are now in these key legal policy positions. And none of these people are remotely hesitant to say what they think about this issue. They have been some of the most aggressive writers on the torture issue from the beginning. And I'd say 3 of the 4 of them have also made statements that they believe that there were clearly crimes committed here. So I think that shows you that there's a pretty strong inclination to do something.
Now,
but
wait,
I don't think that something's going to happen in the next 6 weeks.
Well, now, from what you say about these appointees, your former colleagues, I guess we could expect for them to write memos saying that the law says no torture, whether you're military, CIA, or anyone else. But would they be the same people in charge of deciding whether to carry forward with a grand jury or not, that kind of thing?
I think Eric Holder's the person who's going to make that decision in the first instance. But the memo policy writers are also the people who are going to say, whether or not the conduct would be viewed on a policy level as criminal conduct. And I think they told us what they think about that.
Right, and that means you're talking about from here on out.
From here on out.
Right, yeah.
And I think what I expect to see is we're not going to see that Barack Obama or Eric Holder is going to say, go prosecute this guy. That's not going to happen. I think they're going to be beholden to traditional process, which means that somebody at some point is going to be assigned to conduct a proper professional investigation and come back with a recommendation about prosecutions. But it's definitely not the case that the president or the attorney general is going to say, prosecute XYZ. And I think that their attitude right now is that this is not one of the 5 things they most urgently have to address. There's time.
Well, which means that means that that pressure from people like you has got to be at full volume, or nothing's going to happen at all.